If we're going to go in this order. So I just want to pick up with something that Lisa said, and this really wasn't planned, kind of about Wikipedia and what Jonathan was saying about distinguishing information from education. So I work at My Jewish Learning, which is, we will say, is the largest trans-denominational Jewish educational site. It's like the shtick you'll get from me. We are a resource of about 6,000 articles about everything Jewish. The great irony in our name is there is very little ownership of the My Jewish Learning. That we're Jewish, we'll give you the middle word. I don't think that a lot of learning happens on our site. I think someone Googled Shavuot. We come up much higher for Shavuot 2010. But someone Googled Shavuot looking for a tidbit of information. What is this holiday about? When is it happening? Why do I eat cheesecake? And that bit of information may be education if it's part of a larger picture of I'm asking questions, I'm learning, I have some kind of guide as a teacher, but independently on its own as a piece of information, it's just a piece of information that's available on the web. And I would say, like, you certainly do not need a teacher to learn. In the traditional role of having a teacher in the classroom with you, I think you do need some kind of guidance. Even going back to our Bible commentary, if you're studying a piece of paper, or if you're studying Torah with Rashi, okay? Rashi's not in the room with you, but you do have a teacher that's guiding you, that's actually telling you which questions you should be looking at, which words, which is no different than if you're in a class with a teacher saying, okay, this question number one, what's the context that this word is in? So I think distance learning, many people that are on mega meetings, I know a few that are doing distance learning, but I think you do need some kind of guidance that transforms education into information. So the plethora of information online, Wikipedia being one of the best sources of Jewish information, where I work, the number of blogs, the number of Jewish newspapers that are online, the Ask the Rabbi service, the number of texts you can find online, that's not the same thing as Jewish learning and Jewish education. And so to help us kind of scope that down, I want to put that aside. And unless we're using that tool to build educational networks, then it's just Jewish information, and we're not talking about what the people in this room need to be talking about. I think it does bring more people in, like Lisa said, the kind of usual suspects. We get emails from people all across the world. Our particular demographic, we find a lot more people from the South than from the Midwest. We find people that are not in urban areas. Our most vocal readers are those people that are like, I got a question today. Why do conservative men not wear kippot and have English-sounding names? And I'm like, okay, so this is someone who's in need of some education and who has found some information online. So I think using that into perspective, I think we also need to see, when is technology good? Many people, I hope, saw a tablet article this week that was about camp and the need to put down cell phones. And I think with few exceptions, people say that camp is a really good place where technology should be put aside in many circumstances. A Shabbaton, regardless of what your level of Shabbat observance is, across the spectrum, having a Shabbaton and getting people together is a time when many aspects of what we consider traditional web technology, electronics, even that's a good time to take a break from some of the technology and get back to the one-on-one personal interactions. And I think when we look particularly at the realm of Jewish education, and most of our kids and most of our students don't spend the same number of hours doing Jewish education as they do secular, even our day school kids, the number of hours that they have, you don't need to have a computer lab just to have a computer lab. You should be using it very smartly, and there's certainly a time to put it down. So with those two things in mind, I think one of the biggest issues that's going on is we're always one step behind in the Jewish world, or at least how that I feel about the technology. There are some people in this room that are software creators, and I want to recognize that those people are. Most of us are Jewish community professionals, Jewish educators, whose lives intersect a lot with technology. We shouldn't be the software creators. If anyone was really so good at that, you should probably go to Microsoft or Google. Like, I don't think we can expect our industry to be producing the technology, but I think the level at which when we jump onto technology is severely delayed, and it doesn't need to be. There are cheap, effective solutions that happen, and we spend a lot of time in meetings talking about whether or not we want to implement them. And one example that I have, that I really respect, Behrman House, which with one or two other publishers, is really the largest publisher of Jewish supplementary, complementary school books. As of late, really in the last 2 or 3 years, their newest series of Hebrew books, which are really wonderful, come with these great CD-ROMs. Okay? And I know they're great because I've seen their survey results. I happen to live with a Jewish religious school principal. Makes for an exciting life. And the parents are like so excited that they can finally hear the words being said. They put in the CD-ROM, the kids are engaged. That's great. Now I go to Wired or Laptop Magazine, and I see that computers aren't coming with external drives anymore. So that's great that we have CD-ROM. We've taken ourselves from like the year 1985 to the year 2004. Okay, we're in 2010, and I will be the first to say my Jewish learning suffered from this. We did a redesign last year, and we were really excited that we were taking our site from 2003 to what we thought was 2009, what ended up being to 2007. We still don't do a lot of things that other sites do. And I think that's okay. We're not necessarily going to be right at the forefront of the upgrades in technology, but we shouldn't be so self-congratulatory when we do make these upgrades. That's good that you have a CD-ROM. Now get it up online. That's great that synagogues are now having blogs. You should have been having them already, and you should have been having them a few years ago. What can you do next? And we tend to celebrate these milestones, which are actually not taking us to where we need to be, but where we should have been a few years ago. And I don't think we should discount that some of the organizations that we work with that aren't using basic things, have a website that works, have a blog, have a Twitter handle, have a Facebook account, make sure that the technology in your office that your employees can communicate with each other. When organizations make that next step from wherever they are to wherever they're coming, that's good, but we shouldn't stop in that moment and gloat and think that we're done. We really need to keep going. And so it is a gradual process, but I think we get too excited kind of in that moment, and I want to, as a community, I wish that the mentality would think more to be thinking not just where we should be and where we could be today, but where we could be in the future. And that is going to involve a certain number of failures of trying new technology that's out there that doesn't end up picking up. But just a closing note, I remember I was at the Jewish Communal Service Association's conference. When did you? It was like a year ago. It was only a year ago?
Oh, no, that was 2
years ago. So the thing with technology, and Lisa was one of the keynotes, and they encouraged everyone. Lisa sent out this thing about Twitter, and everyone should get onto Twitter. And I'm like, what the hell is this Twitter thing? This is like the stupidest thing in the room. I'm going to be in the room with her. Why am I going to be submitting my questions on Twitter? And I think all of us here on Twitter, we're all tweeting that we're here. And when Foursquare came out, I said, I have no idea how I'm going to use Foursquare, but if I don't get on this, I'm stupid. Even if for me, like, I live in Rockland County. There's nowhere to check in. I don't live in an urban area. This is not an application for me. But if I don't know what it is and I'm not familiar with it, it's no good. So that we still have educators in our community that say, Facebook isn't for me, Twitter isn't for me, a blog isn't for me. That's fine. It's not for you.
Elliot, is that for me?
So that would be